Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson. Welcome back to everyone who is already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber to the MMA Fancast YouTube channel, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. Always an honor to have a first-time guest on the show. This first-time guest on the show has a fight coming up for Cagezilla, February 22nd. He is an amateur fighter and has one of the most interesting fight nicknames you will find, which we're going to start off by figuring out why that is his fight nickname. Welcome to the show, Zach Honest Abe Vincent. Honest Abe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It is great to have you on the show. We got to jump in with your nickname, and of course, you were kind enough to throw on the top hat. So talk to me about how you got the nickname Honest Abe.
So a lot of people they say I look like Abe Lincoln, so I figured I might as well stick the whole Abe Lincoln combo and make it my persona. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, of course. So the Gettysburg Address is only like, I don't know, 150 words. It only takes like 4 or 5 minutes to read it. So I would highly recommend you memorize it. We all know it starts out 4 score and 7 years ago. Our forefathers brought forth this great nation, conceived in liberty, something about justice. And then he says something about how that it's been torn apart by this great civil war. And then from there, we kind of lose it. So you should learn that because it would be really good to your
I
honest
most definitely will.
character. Absolutely. So let's talk about the fact that the home gym behind you is not just a home gym. That is actually very much your self-taught, self-training facility. So back us up from before you started any type of martial arts, and then what led you into martial arts, and then kind of what led you to be self-training and, of course, still taking fights, even though you are self-trained.
Um, so years ago, I was kind of like the nerd in school, so I kind of learned to figure it out. I was like, all right, I gotta learn how to defend myself a little bit. So I started watching the pros do it. I would slow it down, rewatch it, take it step by step, watch it thousands of times, rep it thousands of times, and eventually I started getting pretty good at it to where I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for a competition. So I went and did that. And that was a fun experience. But yeah, over time, this kind of just turned into what it's turned into. It started off with just that bag in the back, but now it's all this. It goes Abe's Combat Academy, so I train people here sometimes. Um, but yeah, it's been a long journey, but we're getting there.
Well, that is really cool. Now that you've been taking fights, you're actually at what you have 4 or 5 amateur fights, and of course you have that
Yep.
amateur fight coming up. Um, how has it been? Have you picked up any extra sparring partners, particularly for the grappling, for the jiu-jitsu? How has all that been going? And then, of course, I think there's a story there a little bit about Killer K, who has been on the show a couple times here. I don't think he's somebody you know, but I think he's somebody that you are uh, starting to connect to a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually met Caleb at Cagezilla a few times. We clicked it off. It's always a good vibe when I'm talking to him. As for like my jujitsu and wrestling sort of stuff, I actually partnered with a gym down the road, called Eagle MMA, and they let me come down every Sunday and let me train with their guys and get some grappling in, and that's always a fun time. Other than that, I have a small wrestling background from high school, so there's that. But I didn't really get too much other than the basics, so I've just kind of been growing off of that.
Well, that really shows that you're very willing to pick up things and kind of learn. And I'm glad that Jim is allowing you to get the grappling is really helpful to go against other people. So talk about your MMA career to date. How long ago did you debut and kind of what has been? I know there's been some ups and some downs. So what has been the journey like so far for you?
Well, so my first fight was October of 23, or 22, I believe. Um, and that fight, that was my first one, so that it was a first round finish. He got me real good with a submission. And that was an eye opening experience. So that following year in February, I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing now. Went in there, finished the guy in the first round, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this a little bit. Um, Come October that same year in 23, I fought Telvin Ruffin, and that was a split decision. Everybody was saying, "Oh, you got robbed." It's a loss in my book. I gotta come up with something better now. So after that, took some time off. I waited till about April. I decided, okay, my ground game's not exactly where I want it to be yet. So let's try and do Bunshu, which is Muay Thai with 4-ounce gloves. That was a super fun fight in April. And it ended with him, Joseph Catterton, throwing up all over the cage. So that was a good time. Um, and after that, I was like, all right, I'm really starting to love this Boonshu thing. And now, keep in mind, back in April when I did the Boonshu for the first time, that was the first time they did Boonshu at Cagezilla. I think they said 9 years.
Okay.
So that was like a big, huge thing, and the fans seemed to love it. So I called out Charlie McCloskey, who was the number 5 ranked. I think he was bantamweight or featherweight, one of the two. And I'm not gonna lie, he kicked my ass in August. I got scarred up here. I got scarred up here. Um, but that was a blast of a fight. So this time around, I was working on my ground game a little bit. So now I'm thinking it's time to get back into the MMA portion of things. So we'll see what comes out February.
Well, that is, you are quite the character. And obviously, I do think it is cool when promotions, I do a lot with the 247 Fighting Championship promotion in Pittsburgh, which is absolutely incredible. And they're starting to do, submission only grappling, kickboxing, Muay Thai, not exactly what you said, but, those different things.
Yeah,
It's great when promotions are using their cage for more than just MMA. I mean, MMA is fantastic, but there's a lot of different aspects where fighters get good at. And we just mentioned a few, but there's even more. I'm sure there's even something called combat jujitsu, which is jujitsu with like open hand palm strikes. People like to call them slaps, but just so people know, palm strikes are much worse than slaps. But
oh
anyhow,
yeah.
oh, way, way, way worse. And in fact, Boz Rutan has whole the videos on how to properly palm strike. But what are your thoughts? What are your predictions or your mindset going into the February 26th one?
Um, well, I know it's going to be a difficult fight. The guy I'm facing against, he's from Kaizen, which is a very well known grappling gym in Virginia. The sister gym is actually Eagle MMA. Funny enough, so I know a few of the guys there who also trained with my opponent. So that'll be fun to incorporate some training with them. But other than that, I'm gonna try my best to keep it standing up where I feel comfortable the most and hopefully get the knockout. But we'll see how it plays out.
Well, that's your game plan. The tricky part, which is awesome, but the tricky part with MMA is if there's um if there's a game plan that involves standing up, you almost have to use wrestling in reverse. Chuck the Iceman. Liddell was famous for using that, and so it's a different style of wrestling. Obviously, you're experiencing more grappling, and hopefully you can use your skills to stay standing because one of the things that I always give wrestlers, I think we all know that wrestling is a great base and a foundation for MMA. It doesn't mean that if you're a great wrestler, that means you're just going to go and win all the fights easily. It doesn't mean that. We've
Yeah,
seen plenty of wrestlers lose, but it does mean that a wrestler can typically find the way to make it a grappling match. So I do hope that you're able to use your skills and your grappling to keep it on the feet. Clearly, you have a lot of ability there. So very, very cool. Would you do Shito, whatever the name is. Would you do that again with the 4 ounce gloves and Muay Thai, even after you're mostly?
Boonshu,
Yes, Bushu.
I would most definitely do that again. I find it so much fun just being able to stand there and bang. It's it's uh it's it's a really good feeling. It makes you feel alive, especially getting punched in the face.
Well, you are very entertaining. I'm sure the crowd loves you. Have you developed some people that are fans of you as you fight, or is it more people maybe don't know you, but then as you fight, you kind of hear the crowd get pulled in? I've been to tons and tons of MMA fights, and that's sometimes what happens when somebody that doesn't have a big gym around them, you're self-taught, so a lot of times that means that there's not maybe that many fans for you. So do you feel like you earn fans as you continue to fight?
I think most of the time I go to Cagezilla, it's honestly the top hat that draws people in the most.
Sure.
And everybody kind of now that is a regular there seems to know the top hat when they see it. I got a bunch of people coming up to me and saying, "Hey, babe, what's going on?" Um, I got a huge TikTok following, so that's always a great thing. I have a few guys from my TikTok who are probably going to come out to the fight as well, so that'll be. I got to put it on a show for everybody, you know. But I'm excited to see what this one brings.
Yes, well, I'm excited as well. It's always an honor for me to have new people on the show. Thanks for reaching out to me to jump on. And I hope your connection with Killer K goes well and whatever, group work you can do there. And it's just really cool to see the behind the scenes, quite literally into your own gym, but also one of the best ways, and people don't always appreciate this, but other than maybe the person you're fighting, and there's sometimes that backstage that there's some tension, obviously, but in general, people might be shocked how friendly backstages are, how friendly the warm up rooms are to people that don't know each other. And sometimes coaches end up like I, as a coach, have jumped on and coached fighters such as yourself that show up maybe uncoached or self-coached or with a brother or a girlfriend in their corner and maybe not a coach. And I've jumped on and helped them. I've even coached some pro fights that way where pro fighters would show up without corners. So you just never know. But a lot of times that atmosphere in the red corner or blue corner is very friendly. I hope you continue to make connections. I can't wait to kind of see how the Honest Abe shtick works out for you. Very cool. I've never been on TikTok. I don't know TikTok. I think it was just banned and then unbanned. So who knows? But I'm glad that you have some followers and that you're a very upbeat guy. And I can't wait to kind of see what happens for you. This has been Luke Payson for MMA Fancast with first-time guest on the show, Zach Vincent, better known as Honest Abe. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Go see Honest Abe, Zach Vincent in action at Cagezilla, February 22nd, down there in Maryland. Thanks so much for coming on. Best skills to you.